Hey everyone, welcome back to another YouTube video brought to you by Frank. In today's video, we'll be going over the difference between good debt and bad debt. Debt is bad. We go on about this at Frank because debt is killing savings in South Africa. In this video, we're going to explain a bit more about debt, what makes it bad and what makes it good. But first, a look at why debt is regarded as a curse. According to the South African Reserve Bank, South African households spend on average 70% of their income on debt. Some economists put this figure even higher, which means that up to 75% of after-tax money earned is being used to pay interest and repay debts. It's no wonder our country has one of the worst savings rates in the world. As an individual, the debt habit can very quickly spiral out of control. It usually starts innocently enough. The temptation of a store card proves irresistible. 6 months to pay off your purchases, 0 interest for the first 6 months, and 1,000 Rand in free vouchers. Who can resist such an offer when there are lovely new things in the window that you want in your cupboard? Consumption debt increases over the December holiday season. There are presents to buy. Everyone wants treats and nice stuff, and the lack of ready cash is not an obstacle when there's so much credit around. Of course, you wouldn't be considering the card if you had enough cash on hand to buy what you wanted. Think about it. If you have the cash, you don't need the card. So as soon as you're tempted to get a store card, remind yourself that you're spending money you don't have. That's not a good idea, because you can't really afford the purchases. It's easy to miss those payments, and when you miss payments, they start charging interest, which makes it even harder to make the minimum monthly payment. Then to protect your credit record, you take out a personal loan to pay off the store card. And so it goes. If you're already in this mess, we have some tips at the end on how to get out of the spiral. Assets versus expenses. The sort of debt that gets people into trouble is called consumption debt. If you're using loans or credit to pay for everyday expenses, that's consumption debt. It's the money you spend on stuff that gets consumed or loses value quickly over time. Food bought with a credit card is literally consumed in a week or two. Clothes and shoes last longer, but they still wear out. And you can't sell those sneakers for even half what you paid for them if you're in a cash squeeze. Even the lease on a car falls into the bad debt category. Vehicles are an expensive asset. They lose value steadily and cost money to maintain. What then is good debt? Good debt is productive debt, the loan that helps you start a business or buy a home, for example. These are assets that should appreciate in value and could generate an income down the line. It's hard to start a business without loan capital, and most people would never be able to buy property without a home loan. Owning your own home is nearly always a good investment and provides security. So this form of debt helps build your asset base. Interestingly, the debt taken on for consumption is almost more expensive than productive debt. In South Africa, banks are allowed to charge up to repo, a rate set by the Reserve Bank, currently 3.5%, plus 14% on credit card debt. That means credit card debt could cost as much as 17.5% in interest at the moment. The maximum rate you can be charged on a personal loan is repo plus 21%, which means that personal loans are even more expensive than credit cards. A personal loan of 10,000 Rand at the maximum current interest rate would cost you 1,376 Rand over 1 year, and that's if you pay it off. It'll cost 2,744 in interest if you let it slide and don't make any repayments. Getting out of debt. If you have no debt or very little debt, you need to do everything in your power to keep it that way. Save and invest. If you have a debt burden, the first step is not any of the things you might think. It's not the budget or accelerated payments or debt consolidation or writing down all of your expenses, although these are all very important. The first step is changing your behavior, and to do that, you have to figure out why you are in the habit of spending more than you earn. Unless you change the underlying impulses that make you spend money you don't have, things like budgeting won't work. It's not always easy confronting your weaknesses, but it has to be done. Once you've worked out what makes you use debt to finance consumption, you can start the process of budgeting and paying off the loans.